Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from Reuters. Now, this was published on December 18th, written by Jack Stubbs and Ryan McNeil. SolarWinds hackers broke into U.S. cable firm in Arizona County, web records show. Now, this is what I love, all right? Because they got to keep pushing the Russian narrative and beat it like a dead horse and everything else. Every hacker that like Reuters and the legacy media will talk about is Russia, Russia, Russia. This could have been some other country, some other nation that was involved in this, or it could have been independent hackers. But hey, it's suspected Russian hackers. Anyway. Let's get into the article here. Suspected Russian hackers accessed the systems of a U.S. internet provider and a county government in Arizona as part of a sprawling cyber espionage campaign disclosed this week, according to an analysis of publicly available web records. Okay. So they got Cox Cable or something like that. Okay. And a county government in Arizona. And because they want to go and say, well, they got the county government, it was Russians, da-da-da-da-da. They're trying to basically, to me, it sounds like send things going the other direction. Like, nothing to see here, okay? We're going to place the blame over in this person, over here. We expect you to take the bait. I mean, that's kind of how this seems to me. That's just my gut feeling. It kind of feels that way. But, I mean, this idea of this sprawling cyber espionage campaign disclosed this week, I mean, that's sensationalizing. According to an analysis of publicly available web records. Now, this is what's funny. Publicly available web records. They're trying to say, oh, yeah, big deal. Like, anyone could have seen this. Could see this, but it's this big deal. It's kind of funny. I mean, don't get me wrong, the hack is a big deal because there's a lot of shady shit that could be involved with the SolarWinds thing that's now looking like, Dominion lied about, the CEO lied about the fact that SolarWinds had nothing to do with it, but there's proof that it's part of their software and all this. So, yeah. On that type of note, it's a big deal. But how they're portraying like the situation, they're making it into a big deal, even though it is a big deal. With where they're placing the blame, I should say. They're trying to make this into like a big deal. That way, they're trying to sell it more by doing that. The hack, which hijacked ubiquitous network management software made by SolarWinds Corp to compromise a raft of U.S. government agencies and was first reported by Reuters, is one of the biggest ever uncovered that has sent security teams around the world scrambling to contain the damage. Yeah, this is a big deal. But don't ignore the fact that this was, that this was part of certain voting machine software. Yeah. Oh. Most safest and secure election, but this was part of the software. I think that kind of throws that out the window, especially when Dominion's writing that statement as part of CISA. The intrusion into networks at Cox Communications and the local government in Pima County, Arizona, show that alongside victims including the U.S. Departments of Defense, State and Homeland Security, and the hackers who also spied on less high-profile organizations. Now, why would the DoD be using any of this software or anything like that? They used to actually handle their own security. Now they contract it out, and this is what happens, or their networking, they contract it out. Different shit like that. They used to actually train people in computers and in, computer security and all this other stuff. Now they contract it. Because I remember, you could go in a career path, let's say joining the Army or the Navy or whatever. And if you had the aptitude, they would train you on computers. They would teach you how to code. They would teach you how to do these different things. I mean, obviously not a lot of people would get, placement like that. Within the military. But if you had the skills, they would do it. They'd send you to college and, to further your education. Now they just contract that stuff out. And it's like, are you retarded? You think a company is going to be able to deal with your security? Maybe as a consultant, they can come in and look at your stuff and go, well, maybe you want to beef up here. But you don't have a company handling all your important stuff like that. Keep it in-house. A spokesman for Cox Communications said the company was working around the clock with the help of outside security experts to investigate any consequences of the SolarWinds compromise. The security of the services we provide is top priority, he said. Obviously it wasn't. I emailed comments sent to Reuters. Pima County Chief Information Officer Dan Hunt in emailed comments sent to Reuters, Pima County Chief Information Officer Dan Hunt said his team has followed U.S. government advice to immediately take SolarWinds software offline after the hack was discovered. He said investigators had not found any evidence of a further breach. Huh. You sure about that? You going to be honest about that? I mean, this is one of those situations where you use one way to get in. You don't know if they're using that to get in there. You don't know what else they compromised. So how can you be sure about that? Reuters identified the victims by running a coding script released on Friday here by researchers at Moscow-based cybersecurity firm Kaspersky to decrypt online web records left behind by the attackers. So you bring up the fact that they're Moscow's Kaspersky to back your idea of it's Russia. Is that how is because it seems to me that's why they're throwing this in here, because everyone knows what Kaspersky is. But you put Moscow in there and it's like that kind of adds like credence in some, idiot's eyes, some low information people's eyes, some Kool-Aid drinking people's eyes to back this idea of Russia. I mean, Kaspersky has been pretty decent about stuff like this just in general, and they've done it with stuff outside of Russia too. This isn't like they do this for Russian shit. They do this for like cybersecurity in general. The type of web record, known as a CNAME, includes an encoded unique identifier for each victim and shows which of the thousands of backdoors available to them the hackers chose to open, said Kaspersky researcher Igor Kuznetsov. I'm probably butchering the hell out of that. Most of the time, these backdoors are just sleeping, he said. But this is when the real hack begins. The CNAME records relating to the Cox Communications and Pima County were included in a list of technical information published here by U.S. cybersecurity firm FireEye Inc., which was the first victim to discover and reveal it had been hacked. Yeah, so I mean, you've got this going on. They're scrambling right now. This is recent, and they already somehow know this is Russia, supposedly. Are 100% certain. Let's just ignore the fact that, you could use a VPN to go into Russia or whatever else and leave footprints to make it look like it was Russia, because each hacking service, we'll call them, okay, like North Korea, Russia, U.S., Canada. I wonder how they got to be polite with theirs, but because, Canadians are polite, eh? But there are like, for lack of a better term, there are fingerprints for each hacking service's hacks. The other hacking services know them. They will take and leave those fingerprints of another service, another country's hacking service. I mean, obviously, I'm using that as just a general catch-all thing here. I know that it's not called that, but it just makes it easier. So another nation's hacking service, they'll put the fingerprints of that other nation. They'll take a completely innocent nation and leave their fingerprints to make it look like they did it and distract away. This has been going on for years. This is how they do this shit. It's like the idea of if you're, say, U.S. Special Forces and you wanted to, say, make it look like Spetsnaz did a military action on something, you would follow the tactics that Spetsnaz use. You would leave the fingerprints that Spetsnaz. You're not going to be using a Beretta 92 as your sidearm, okay? You're not going to be using M4s or anything like that. You're going to be using Russian hardware. Same principle. Not necessarily like the hardware, like computer hardware, but you understand what I mean by like the idea of the fingerprints, because you're going to leave like shell casings and stuff like that would leave a fingerprint. Same idea. John Bamnick, a security researcher and president of Bamnick Consulting, said he had also used the Kaspersky tool to decode the CNAME records published by FireEye and found they connected to Cox Communications and Pima County. The records show that the backdoors at Cox Communications, the backdoors at Cox Communications. I'm sorry. Backdoors and Cox Communications should not be in the same sentence. I'm sorry. It's juvenile humor or whatever. I'm a, misogynist, whatever you want to say. All right. I find that damn funny. The records that show the backdoors at Cox Communications in Pima County were activated in June and July this year, the peak of the hacking activity so far identified by investigators. It is not clear what, if any, information was compromised. Oh, there was plenty of information compromised. They used this to run roughshod on any system they could. That's why I'm saying you can't go, we stopped it and we there's no other things, because they could have used that as a way to gain access in other ways. So that way, if you find out about SolarWinds, they've got another backdoor just sitting there waiting for them. You don't think that hackers are going to be smart enough to do something like that? SolarWinds, which disclosed its unwitting role at the center of the global hack on Monday, said it has up to 18,000 users of its Orion software downloaded. Wait a minute. Monday has said that up to 18,000 users of its Orion software downloaded a compromised update containing malicious code planted by the attackers. 18,000 users, and these are people with or companies, I should say, and organizations that need to keep their networks secure, need to keep the information private, stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty scary. And that's just 18,000 out of the total users they have, which destroys the credibility of the company, I hate to say. If you couldn't see that some shit was going on that was shady, I mean, you should be auditing your code. You should be making sure, doing checksums on your updates and everything else, and make sure that the checksums match. I mean, this is like due diligence that any person who understands cybersecurity or just general system security would understand. I mean, why the hell do you think with Linux systems you use package managers and they have checksums to make sure that no one injects code like this into an update or into an app? Oh my God. The open source communities get a better handle on shit like this. They're building Linux and stuff like that. And that's more secure than these companies that are supposed to be handling, software that's supposed to be secure. You got to love it. Hey, this is ridiculous shit. As the fallout continued to roll, Washington on Thursday with a breach confirmed at the U.S. Energy Department. Oh my God. U.S. officials warned that hackers had used other attack methods and urged organizations to not assume they were protected if they didn't use recent versions of the SolarWinds software. God, this is like the idea of, was it in Thailand or whatever the hell? They were recycling condoms. It's like the idea of using a recycled condom with this. Don't assume you were protected, or like a really cheap rubber. Don't assume you were protected. I mean, the U.S. Energy Department. Actually, the DOE, the Department of Energy. These are people that deal with nuclear stuff. You don't think... This is what I find funny. The Energy Department, all right, which is the Department of Energy, or at least it's been known as the DOE. The Department of Energy deals with nuclear power plants. Deals with like even like the idea of like nuclear in regards to say fissionable material for like nuclear devices on the note of like say bombs, missiles, and shit like that. Yeah, we're supposed to believe this is Russia? Why would Russia want access to the same government agency that handles like nuclear secrets and shit? Like on the note of like our nuclear arsenal and our power generation and stuff like that. That makes absolutely no sense. A nation that's trying to improve their nuclear technology, like say maybe Iran, just, spitballing here, would seem to me a more viable reason, or country, I should say, that would have a reason to maybe use SolarWinds to gain access. Just a thought. Microsoft, which is one of the thousands of companies to receive the malicious update, said it had currently notified more than 40 customers whose networks were further infiltrated by the hackers. Now, this is spreading like the herp. Around 30 of those customers were in the United States, it said, with the remaining victims found in Canada, Mexico, Belgium, Spain, Britain, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates. Wow, getting around here. The herp's getting around. Most worked information technology companies, as well as some think tanks and government organizations. Oh yeah, that's going to go over well. It is certain that the number and locations of victims will keep growing, Microsoft President Brad Smith said in a blog post here. Yeah, it's like they've had like a tech orgy and the herp is spreading like wildfire. This is called SolarWinds. Oh, I thought it was solar flare. It was gonna be like herpes flare, but it's SolarWinds. Damn. I gotta come up with a herb joke for that. I'll figure one out. Because this is spreading like the herp. The installation of this malware created an opportunity for the attackers to follow up and pick and choose from among these customers and organizations they wanted to further attack, which it appears they did in a narrower, more focused fashion. I love how this just happened. We're supposed to just assume and believe that it was Russia, because they say it was Russia, because Reuters said it was Russia. We don't even know where this originated from. I explained with the fingerprints and everything else, but it's already been decided it's Russia. This is a distraction because of China and stuff like that. Because, we can't let the China shit get any attention. We can't let their hacking get any attention. I mean, this is so funny how stupid they think people are. Without a chance to actually do any actual forensics into this, it was Russia they're declaring. Okay, fine, whatever. Keep pushing the Russia shit. Just keep beating that like a dead horse. I mean, it's already to bleach bones. You're playing it like a xylophone and you think you can keep selling it, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, I've covered this well enough. I'm leaving things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.